Hello everyone. Today is December 19th, 2025, and today, together with you, since you helped me make this video by asking questions, I will be answering them. So let's start with the first one. STRK, Polkadot, Tezos, Chia, Apex, DYDX, EGLD. These altcoins in the portfolio are down 70 to 90%. Will there be at least a rebound to the main retail entry points in the upcoming cycle? Look, here's the answer. Let's take STRK, this fake pump, for example. In general, I give each coin the chance that they might make some kind of move, but honestly, I don't really believe in any miracles there. Because, for example, if the average entry point is, say, 0.3, then you need more than a 300% gain just to break even. Anything is possible, but... And, I'm not even worried about it because there was nothing in the portfolio until yesterday. I think I'll talk about this soon. So, Polkadot. In previous videos, I already mentioned that it has one last chance to survive at all. Maybe we'll see some kind of prolonged consolidation. If we just look at it like this, there were some really good moves here, like a substantial 200%. Indeed, 200%. There's a definite chance it could potentially go up 200%. Even if it's from this particular point, would that be good enough for you? If yes, then that's great. As for Tezos, I see it's not even on the penalty list anymore, or perhaps it still is on the penalty list and it's even on the futures market, but the overall situation is quite bleak. It's the same story as with Polkadot. They raised a lot of money, just a huge amount, but because of the team, some mismanagement, tokenomics issues. And basically that's what happens with all projects. That's it. I don't want to give you any false hope that things will ultimately turn out badly or exceptionally well. I'm simply stating the undeniable fact that everything has dropped quite significantly, and in order for us to truly grow, we first absolutely need to consolidate at some foundational level, and only after that crucial period can we effectively break out of it. It's not a fact that this is the level or that one, but honestly, I had high hopes for this project. However, I saw a long time ago that it just keeps falling and falling, and to be honest, I don't have it in my portfolio. Maybe I'll regret not buying it, and even in the portfolio I'm planning to build, there's no THIA in it. So there's this talk about it becoming a stock or something like that, but that doesn't affect the token at all. The token won't be needed if Chia becomes a stock. That's my opinion. Then there's EGLD as well. The situation is dire. It's a dire situation, and honestly, we just have to go through some kind of depression, and maybe after that, someday we'll start to grow. Right now, I don't have, well, all those projects you asked about, and there are still 2 left here. DYDX as well. It used to be promising at one point. But now projects like Hyperliquid and Astor are of course much cooler than DYDX. Same with Pole. Pole is the former Matic network, which was originally known as Matic, and then later rebranded and became widely recognized as the Polygon blockchain. The fact that they did a rebranding is great, but the fact that the coin keeps falling is really bad. Still, at least they know how to do market making. That's encouraging to me. That's it. And the question is, so what will be the price, at least for the main entry points, for the main retail purchases in the near future? There are chances, of course, but they're minimal, I would say. So the second question. Hi, thanks for the analysis. I have a question. The US congressional elections will be held on November 3rd, 2026. It seems logical to assume that it would be beneficial for Trump if the economy, the stock market, and the cryptocurrency market were in a positive mood, so he could once again talk about his successes. Do you think your cyclical model of the cryptocurrency market aligns with this logic? It looks like the bull market will start right before the elections. Isn't that too late? What do you generally think about a bear market during a US congressional election year? Do you consider it possible for market cycles to be disrupted? Thank you. So we have the date, November 3rd, 2026. And that's roughly the point, I think, where Bitcoin should reverse, somewhere around those dates. Well, those dates, I mean, those months. And I truly do not really need to reconsider my fundamental logic regarding the inherent cyclicality of economic and market trends, primarily because it absolutely does not depend upon these kinds of relatively insignificant or minor factors, I would most certainly say with complete conviction. As for the overall sentiment and possibly some significant statements about the crypto market, I have absolutely no doubt that they will be positive because, first of all, this is fundamentally a market of profound expectations, and based on those strong expectations, we can only really begin to see some tangible kind of growth or a powerful impulse. That is my considered answer. Now, what do you think about the S&P 500? Will it truly correct along with Bitcoin or not? You know, it's very, very strong, exceptionally strong. I think we could potentially see some kind of significant local correction together with Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin has already experienced a notable correction here. This is the clear Bitcoin correction. But here, in this particular market, we don't really see any substantial movements, meaning everything is basically being pulled up and propelled forward by Nvidia and the other top 5 influential companies that are now intensely focused on artificial intelligence and are deeply interconnected, actively investing in each other's ventures, and so on. So you could reasonably say that this current market bubble could potentially keep going. It could indeed keep going even further for a considerable period. But I think they already profoundly understand the ultimate critical point, which is that they probably won't be able to grow much more significantly over the next year or so. They'll inevitably need more and more substantial amounts of money to sustain this growth. After the speculative bubble at least starts to significantly deflate and the company ultimately finds itself in a truly critical and precarious state, there might indeed be some kind of substantial rescue operation for these prominent companies, such as leading artificial intelligence developers like OpenAI or various other innovative technology firms. That is precisely when we will undoubtedly observe robust and sustained growth once again. For the immediate future, however, I personally do not foresee any major, sudden, or unexpected shocks occurring within the broader stock market landscape. And this correction, by the way, might not even happen. Well, it could happen, but it might not. I'll put it that way. We could just keep growing and growing, but eventually there will be a correction, then a rescue, and after that we'll continue to grow. You mentioned that you placed limit orders and probably some of the altcoins have already been filled. If the downtrend continues, do you plan to keep this portfolio? So let me put it this way. Out of about 8 assets, there are currently 2 open positions. They were open just yesterday. If you want to see which positions these are, please register using the Bybit link, or if you already have an existing account, transfer your account under my referral link. Even if you are registered under other referrals, there is also a way to switch to this one. In this case, you just write to me and we'll sort it out. You'll be able to see everything. All the trades that are opened are broadcast live, shown and explained. You can also ask any questions, and it's absolutely free. If you're an active user, if you're an active trader, if you're making volume, then you'll always be here. In this particular case, it's a truly beneficial win-win-win situation. You, the client, get all the necessary information. I, in turn, receive a fair percentage of your commissions from these successful trades. And the exchange ultimately gains an active and engaged client. Basically, almost everyone here is genuinely interested in this exciting endeavor, so you are absolutely welcome to join us. The convenient link for more information and to sign up is readily available in the description below. Next question. Please tell us about gold and the euro. As for the precise timing of this event, I am not entirely sure at this moment. I would, of course, naturally. I possess a considerable amount of knowledge and expertise regarding precious gold. In fact, I actually commenced my professional journey by actively engaging in the trading of both precious gold and crude oil. And I will unequivocally state this, a crucial point to consider. Gold was considered a rather stringently regulated financial instrument, subject to numerous rules and oversight, up until a certain point in time. Somewhere around here is when it all happened. in a general sense, this particular kind of situation was indeed happening, but I cannot precisely say exactly what the specific nature of it was. Basically, every day certain prices were set in London by some company, I even forgot which one, that would set the prices it wanted to see for gold. And in principle, the market was influenced by that. But now, during extended periods of significant instability, such as in 2000 with the infamous dot-com crisis and again in 2008, during these challenging times of profound economic uncertainty, people invariably look for a truly safe haven for their valuable investments, and that's usually almost always gold. That's precisely how it typically happens. Silver is also closely tied to it, but silver doesn't quite keep up. It's not as inherently strong, not as readily liquid, not as well, you undoubtedly get the general idea. And my targets are, well, like a magnet, 6,000. Every round number, like 5,000, 6,000, acts as a kind of magnet for me. That's why I expect the movement to continue further. As I've already said, this is an excellent formation. We might consolidate here once again, of course, and then still move upward. Now, regarding the EURUSD, I've already answered this question. Here, I think we'll be taking liquidity. And basically, there's nothing new there. How would you assess the price dynamics of Pendle? Well, the price dynamics, whichever coin you look at, it's all very bad. If you open this chart, we have this kind of support line, you could say. Let's highlight it with a bolder color. Now, I know for sure that these levels get broken because there are a lot of stop orders concentrated here. And, well, you understand, there's still room to fall further. And if you look at everything, this is the situation we have. $1 acts like a magnet, but most likely we'll even see it go to $1. Below $1. As for Athena, I'm interested in Athena. But okay, let's pull up some chart. All the liquidity is currently on the futures, so that's what we'll be watching. Athena is more interesting, but it looks very, very bleak, really bleak. But most likely, they know how to do market making here. As we can see, they've shown this more than once, but each time it's weaker and weaker. But when the disappointment passes and we get another period of sideways movement, then we might see some kind of move, maybe even breaking above these levels. That's it. But this is one of the candidates I will definitely be accumulating 100%. When can we start accumulating altcoins? What are the criteria? Thank you for sharing your personal time and knowledge. Look closely. We currently have two important indicators displayed on the chart in general. This is time, let's call it time, and this is price, let's call it price. So there are only two primary scenarios to consider. Either it's fundamentally about the passage of time, or it's entirely about the prevailing market price. Right now, based on our current understanding, or at least my personal understanding and analysis, the anticipated conclusion of this particular cycle will most likely occur in September of the year 2026. This is the current projection right here, at least for Bitcoin, right here. Let me mark it a bit more clearly. Either it's about time or about some targets that you've set under some critical level that everyone can see. That's where basically stop losses will be, and that's also where the majority of positions will be concentrated. Roughly speaking, this little wick, of course, it's different on different exchanges and with different instruments. Well, and here it's the same, 1 and 2, so there are interests underneath them as well. If it reaches there, well, that's how it is. The same goes for activity, like TVL and so on, and the activity of the community. That is, these are the criteria I use for selection. Well, I'm full-time in the market, and I'll say this, I don't talk about it often, but I've been in the market since 2016. I've been through more than one cycle, 2017, 2020, and then what other cycles were there? This is probably the fourth cycle, you could say. How many cycles have we had here? One cycle, the second, the third, and there will be a fourth. This cycle is harder than the previous two, in my opinion, because in this bull market it was difficult to make money on altcoins. With Bitcoin, everything is very clear. In a significant bear market, everything becomes remarkably clear. Everything is easily understandable. Somewhere in the very challenging middle of a bear market, there might indeed be a sudden surge in some extremely high-risk assets, and then, unfortunately, a further, more pronounced decline. So I personally have quite a bit of experience in these matters, and that's precisely why I possess a keen eye for identifying promising things, and there are certainly many interesting coins worth considering. That's why I carefully select and diligently watch them. I meticulously look at the intricate dynamics, at the fluctuating prices, and at a multitude of other crucial factors. So why exactly are you buying Aptos? What was the primary trigger or catalyst for your decision? Look, Aptos. So why Aptos, what was the trigger? The trigger was exactly the price point I was waiting for, meaning my expectation that in December it would be time to enter, there would be some kind of dump, and then, in principle, a possible continuation of upward movement. So it reached my target of 1.5, and that's where I entered. So this is one of the two assets that I bought, because I basically believe in the technology. They know how to do things, they know how to do market making. As you can see, they've done it several times already, and they still have enough money to do things with the price, some manipulations. What's happening now is a dump, yes, because people are selling. They're selling because the coins, well, not exactly free coins, but coins given to large holders who participated at an early stage, are being released, and they're already selling because that's the situation. So, well, I believe in the project, you could say. So next, regarding your very recent and significant purchases, do you truly plan to hold these particular positions for the extended long term, perhaps even until the year 2028? Or are you actually going to sell them off in the coming weeks, or perhaps even within the next few months? Also, does Aptos still remain your consistently reliable and trustworthy investment choice? Thank you very much for your valuable insights. Look, in cryptocurrency, there is nothing more reliable than Bitcoin. That's it. All altcoins that are bought are high risk. So here, it's really just about how tolerant you are to this risk. So am I planning to sell? Honestly, I mean, I'll just look at the overall trend, at the trend. What I currently observe and perceive right now, what I am truly seeing is that, quite frankly, I genuinely do not particularly appreciate this recent market rebound at all. I mean, it is certainly a positive development that there is some noticeable movement happening in the market, and it appears that some astute investors are already actively buying back into various assets at the very least. Prior to this recent activity, well, we did indeed witness some minor movements and fluctuations, but specifically in the last 2 full days, there have actually been some significant and substantial trading volumes consistently coming in. So, considering all these factors, I essentially have 2 primary options here to consider, and ultimately it all really and truly depends on the overall performance and direction of Bitcoin. So if we have this particular scenario unfolding, there is a significant possibility that we'll inevitably see this kind of movement, literally in the very last few weeks. December and basically all of January could be on this kind of upward trend, and if suddenly these products give 100 to 200% returns, then most likely I'll take out my initial investment and leave the coins as free, because after that this kind of situation will happen. But why? Because it is quite possible that we might not actually reach the previous significant lows on various altcoins, meaning that we could, for example, see a different trajectory. Let's use Aptos as an example to make it clearer. Actually, let's not use Aptos specifically. We could have a situation like this, something like this, like this, like this, like this, and then in February, when Bitcoin drops to new lows, we might just be somewhere around here, meaning we don't update those bottom values. That's precisely why at some point around this particular juncture, I firmly lock in all my significant investments, and subsequent to that, I simply leave the remaining digital coins completely free and unallocated. These are all spot trades, so I'm doing everything I can to protect myself because first and foremost, you need to preserve your capital and only then think about making money, taking risks, and psychologically, it's just much easier this way. So what about Litecoin? Yeah, to be honest. Well, okay, yes, but look, Litecoin is something that whales love, something they own, something that big companies have. And from this range, I don't even think we'll break down below it. And if we do, there will be excellent entry points. I think it could repeat the fate of the cash, and this long accumulation and the breakout from this long accumulation, I think, could be good. Why? They'll explain why later on. And so on, so I do see potential in this, but to hold it with a possible minus 40 to 50%, well, even at these levels, I wouldn't be ready to buy right now. So you assume that the bear cycle will be different from previous ones because institutional investors will be able to change the course of events. Institutional investors, look, they are basically whales. They are whales. The market is like a river. It has a strong current. They can actively participate in this market, or with their influential statements, they can push the majority of market participants to follow them and align with their direction. But swimming against the current is inherently challenging and risky for them. And that's why when it becomes clear that this is really the case, then there will be statements from participants and so on, meaning from institutional investors, but it's unlikely that they will be able to change the course of events. What is your opinion about AVAX? AVAX. As far as I remember, they have a partnership with Alibaba, I think. Look, we have this value here, $9. Right below it is an excellent point to buy, already lower. $5 to $6. Well, I chose it like this. Before that, well, I don't see anything. I see potential for it to go deeper. Accordingly, that's it. What about the stock market? What is your overall view of the US, EU, and China markets? Are you optimistic about any particular stocks or currencies? As far as I heard, Warren Buffett is starting to invest in yen or something. Or has he already? Let's take a look now. But no, this is all an upward breakout. I am here to tell you something very important and significant. Think about it carefully and consider all the aspects thoroughly for a moment. We're heading here. Well, 200 will go somewhere over there. So it's also risky right now. Basically, well, we're in a bubble. In fact, that should deflate. Here's AI, that's the reason. And then they'll have to be rescued after that. So I see potential in this. Do you think Bitcoin will surpass the $100,000 mark before we see a correction? Well, look, from the point of view, from a psychological perspective, seeing $100,000 for people, and in this scenario, if there's some kind of altcoin rally from the bottom, that would be great. People will say that we've already formed the bottom and now we're going up. No. At the same time, most people I know are really waiting for 100,000, firstly to exit, to cash out, and secondly to short from there. That's why we might reach that level. But I would give it about a 30% chance. We might even be lower because everyone will be waiting for 100,000. Although anything can happen. Maybe all the public channels will be shouting 100,000, 100,000, that's it, we're already in a bull market, which they still believe in. But we'll see. All right. Hello, what is the percentage allocation of your investments in your portfolio? Are you planning to make any further short-term purchases? As for the portfolio I have, the amount of funds allocated specifically to the spot portfolio, each altcoin makes up about 10%, roughly speaking. Except for Bitcoin, of course, that one has a larger share. So, up to 10% per altcoin. But again, this is high risk and it is high risk. Hello, brother. I hope you are doing well. I really appreciate your analysis. Thank you for the update. I want to share with you an interesting idea that is similar to your analysis. If you compare the total D chart with the BTC chart, when BTC drops by 1%, total D will drop by about 10%. The same goes for growth. If BTC rises by 1%, total D will rise by 10%. On the weekly chart, we have 3 FVGs. According to this logic, we will close all the FVGs, all 3 FVGs on total 3 and on total D. For that to happen, BTC would have to drop to 38,000. The minimum purchase price is about the same, around 38 to 40,000. Please, if you have the opportunity, check this and mention it in your next video. Well, let's take a look. To be honest, I don't really look at these totals because let's do it this way. I try not to mention 38 to 40,000 because first of all, there is an audience and there is a responsibility to that audience so that later people don't tell me it reached 40,000. I don't rule out the possibility that we could drop to 40,000 just with a single candle, a wick with massive liquidations in the market, wiping out some major players, holders or funds. I don't rule that out. It could even happen in January or, well, let's not get into timing. I don't rule it out, but I have a more conservative outlook. I'm expecting 60 to 64,000 and I think that's where the bottom will be. Can you share a few comments about your favorite altcoins? Regarding that, you can register on Whitebit, message me, and I'll add you so you can ask all your questions. The list of altcoins is available in the VIP group. All right, please show the charts for silver and gold. USD. So I bought here, and basically I haven't taken profits yet. Here I have physical gold and physical silver. I think we'll keep going further, kind of aiming for 80,000. Oh, 80, just 80. But we'll see, the entry points here aren't the best, but we still might make it. There are some significant issues, at least in my country, with this particular investment. You typically buy at a substantial 20% more, and then unfortunately when you decide to sell, it's often 20% cheaper. Consequently, investing in silver isn't proving to be that great of an option. In comparison, Bitcoin was a considerably better alternative.